Please stand by. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to our very first presentation by the Developer Students Club in UP Visayas. I am Joseph Victor Sumbong, and presenting with me today is John Gabriel Cabatuan, or JG for short. And our topic for today is back-to-back basics, web development, and an introduction to HTML. Next slide. So before we go on to our presentation, let's establish our house rules. Next slide. So please follow the following rules. Have your microphones off unless you are asked to unmute them. Be nice to people in the chat. And if you have any questions, please ask in the chat and we'll get to you shortly, which is after the presentation. Next slide. So this is an introduction to HTML, which is a gentle introduction to web development. Next slide, please. So what do we need to create a web? We only need a computer in which we can type our HTML file in a text editor like Notepad or Notepad++, and a browser to see the final output of the HTML file. Next slide. So what is HTML? HTML, also known as Hypertext Markup Language, is the standard language used for creating web pages. It's used to describe the appearance and composition of a web page using simple text. It is viewed through a browser and edited using a text editor. It is important to note that HTML is not a programming language because it does not have programming logics, the if and else statements, which is a staple for all the programming language. It's only a markup language to describe how a website will look. Next slide. Creating an HTML file. To create an HTML file, you have to use a text file and save it using the extension HTML. Next. So, doc type declaration. In HTML file, it is required to have a doc type declaration to know the to declare the doc type of HTML. So the doc type tells the browser that the file is an HTML knows what to expect. All HTML files must begin with a declaration. Next slide. HTML elements, an overview. HTML elements are the basic building blocks of your web page. They're made of tags. Tags are visible through opening an HTML file using a text editor. Next slide. Next. Okay. An HTML element is made of different tags containing keywords that define the formatting of your web page. Most elements have an opening tag and a closing tag. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is an example of one of our keywords, H1, that is for headers. And as you can see, there's an opening keyword and a closing keyword, which is differentiated with a what do you call this? A slash, a forward slash. And next slide. So here are some of the basic HTML elements: head and body, title, headers, paragraphs, images, anchor elements, encode comments. We will delve into this in the next subsequent slides. Next slide, please. So the head and the body of an HTML file. The head contains metadata about the HTML file, what text you want the tab to show up on a browser, and the style sheet you'll be using. The style sheet pertains to the CSS, or the cascading style sheets, which we will talk about in the next presentation, which is tomorrow. And The body contains the main elements of the file, such as headers, images, and the paragraph. So basically, the head of an HTML file shows the web page title, while the body contains the content of the web page. Next slide, please. Say hello with a header. The header tag shows your text in bolden for emphasis. There are different levels for the header, H1 being the largest in a browser. The other header elements such as H2, H3, and so on are used to specify subheadings. Next slide. Uh, Send a message using a paragraph. The paragraph tag shows your text plainly as a message. Paragraph elements are automatically spaced with line breaks. So you can see an example on the right side of the screen. Okay. We can also add images to an HTML file. You can add images from a link, and you can also add images from a file on your computer as long as the image is in the same directory as your HTML file or you specify the path. Image do not need closing tags unlike the other elements. As you can see, an example of the format is on the right side of the screen. So, next slide, please. Uh, we can also add links in our HTML files, so that if we have an external web page that we will follow through, you can also click on it and it will take you to that particular web page. So to place a text or an image in an anchor element with a link, when you click on the text or image, you'll be redirected to the link you've specified. So this is the format for on the upper example is the format for a text link, while on the bottom is an image link. An image link is basically the same a combination of the link and also the image that we have that we have done on the previous slide. So next slide, please. So leave a comment. Comments are text in the code that can be read normally in the text editor, but will not be displayed in the browser. They're useful for explaining code, especially if you have a lot and making elements invisible. It is always important to put comments on your code, especially when you do uh, a higher language programming, because it well the person that is looking at your code or your file to know what this particular part of the code is doing. So that is a good practice that all coders should try to do as much as possible. So after this, JG will show you the different examples of what we have discussed here. So JG.
Okay, to show you how to make an HTML file, we're gonna make our first web page. So first thing you're gonna do, you're gonna make your new text document and you rename it. This time I'm gonna name it hello world.html. Then open this file with the text editor of your choice. I'm gonna use Notepad++. So when you make an HTML file, first you need to have the opening tag, which is in every HTML file you have block type HTML. Then make the head. Usually this is where we put our metadata, but for now we're gonna make use of this to change our title. So our title is my first web page. And when you're done, when you're satisfied with your title, you can now close your title with the closing tag just title and also close your head. And now you're gonna make the body of your HTML open tag body, and first what we're gonna do because we want to introduce our web page, we're gonna make a header, hello world, and close tag, and we want to have a subtitle. So I want this to be a very enthusiastic one. So to be a web developer, and it's paragraph. So what's that? And you want to use another header, so use h2. Then let's say you want to put your vision in here using an image. So an image src. So that you have an image. You want, for example, you have a link to your page, or put https. And you could put here the title of your link, for example, no more. Okay. So after that, we're gonna close the body. After you're done with the body, close the HTML. So you're gonna hit save and open your HTML file, which is this. Now, congratulations, you made your first web page. And that's all for the application of the HTML.
Mm, So, uh, please, yeah, okay. So questions, feel free to ask us any questions in the chat or where, or if you, yeah, in the chat. Mm, mm. Do you not have any questions? If so, we can move move on to the next slide if we do not have any questions. So, of course, since this is a developer students club, we want to see you apply this knowledge on your work. So we want you to create an HTML file with what you have learned from our workshop. After the CSS session on January 15th, which is tomorrow, you can send your files through our Google email, which is upvdsc@gmail.com, and we send it using a zip file so that local images are also there. We'll be sending out certificates to the people who have completed this project or this work. So I think that's about it. Closing remarks. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for coming, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow on the 15th. Thank you.